All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at in the world. Welcome to today's webinar. We bring you another free webinar from Desert Waters Correctional Outreach on a complex topic that never ceases to be of extreme importance in corrections work setting, and that of building workforce cultures and generally support staff wellness. Accordingly, today's program, entitled The Pillars of Norway's Prison System Lessons for Correctional Leadership. I'm Justin Stevens, the Chief Operating Officer at Desert Waters Correctional Outreach. Desert Waters is a 501c3 nonprofit incorporated in Colorado in 2003, almost 23 years ago. Our mission is to improve the well being of corrections and other public safety profession through training, consulting, and other essential resources to foster resilience, mental health, and the overall well being in these challenging professions. To date, Desert Waters has conducted groundbreaking research in correctional staff wellness and has offered award winning training to tens of thousands of correctional employees and family members across the nation and overseas. And the instructors we've certified have also trained many more tens of thousands of staff across the country and abroad. Please visit us at desertwaters.com to learn more about what we do. And if you like these free webinars, please take a moment to like us on Facebook or follow us on LinkedIn. Today's esteemed guest is Norwegian Correctional Officer and KY Union President Tor Erik Larsen. He will be interviewed by Katarina Spinaris, Desert Waters Executive Director and Founder. Today's session is being recorded, so if you must leave before the end, you can find it posted on our YouTube channel soon. We invite you to post any questions in the chat, and at the end of our discussion, Katarina and Torek Larson will answer as many as time allows. We plan to finish right around the 90-minute mark, but we'll stay longer for about 15-20 minutes to cover questions at the end. And with that, let me turn it over to Katarina Spinaris and Torek Larson.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to have Eric back with us again. Eric, this is your third time, and every time I learn new stuff. And so today, to me, feels like a pinnacle, talking about guiding principles that steer not only the prison system in Norway, but from what we shared, you and I talked about the whole society. And so I thank you for making time in your busy schedule to be here. And I know it's like past 7 o'clock in the evening for you. Thank you for staying up for us. And so I would love to have you introduce yourself, and then we'll talk about those four very, very crucial principles of equality, human dignity, normality, and rehabilitation. And I sent you a bunch of questions for them, and we may cover, I want especially to cover equality and human dignity, and the other two are kind of like follow, and see how time works out, depending on how much you share for the first two, and cover the other two as possible, as much as possible. So would you like to introduce yourself to us first, Eric, again?
Yes, thank you, Katarina. My name is Tor Erik Larsen. I am the president of the Union of Norwegian Correctional Services Employees. Short, the Norwegian name is KY. So, yeah, I've been the president there for 6 years now. I've worked in corrections for a little over 25 years. Yeah. So, and this is like you said, Katarina, this is my third webinar.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just glad to help and answer questions.
Thank you. And we have a lot of questions. And before we dive in, I want to acknowledge and remember and honor the memory of Jeremy Lewis Hall, the correctional officer at Virginia DOC that was murdered earlier this week. Two of his colleagues were injured and went to the hospital for care. But we grieve his loss, and it's a stark reminder of the tension between the dangers of the job and the thrust to make things better for both the staff and those incarcerated. And it's a very, very stark reality. And we want to remember him and honor him and say that we are not oblivious to the fact that these are what we're going to talk about are very challenging concepts when somebody operates in a sense in an environment where they feel their safety is at risk all the time. but we also know that it has been done and it can be done. And before we got on today, Eric was talking with me about how in the 90s, after a murder, you folks started really seriously implementing reforms. So would you like to start with that, Eric, so that people realize that it hasn't been peaches and cream always in Norway? And by
Yeah.
the way, and you haven't had a murder since then, correct? Of a
No,
staff.
not a staff member, no. Of course we have violent incidents, but not a murder, no.
Since
Uh,
1991. That's a big stretch.
91 or 92, I
Okay.
can't remember
Okay.
for sure. But what happened was that in 1978 we had a white paper talking about reform, and then we had and nothing really happened. And then we had a murder of a correctional officer in 1989, and then another one during an escape in 91 or 92. So that really got the ball rolling because everybody knew we needed a reform. So there was a new white paper in 97, 98, and the new kind of organization of the DOC was implemented in 2001. We had a new way to work. We had like the primary officer rotation, which is that like there's not a lot of inmates on each floor in a Norwegian prison. But each officer on the floor has 3 to 4 assigned inmates, where they're the primary contact to those inmates or incarcerated persons. So the real change started in 97, 98 through that white paper.
And then you really started it in earnest after those 2 murders in there.
Yeah, it was like the fuel that got
Right.
the fire started.
Right. And so from everything I heard when I was in Norway visiting, which was a life-changing experience. Thank you, One Voice United, for taking me there as a guest. And looking at discussing things with you, there are those 4 pillars of equality, human dignity, normality, and rehabilitation. And I really wanted to start with equality because it's very basic. And you told me something about the whole society being operating along the same principles. So you call
Yeah.
it leak How would you call it normality?
Likhet.
Okay, I don't think I'll ever get it totally right, but
You kind of rest on the K.
okay,
Uh,
leak Okay, so
yeah,
what is that
very good.
about? How would you define it or describe it in your societal context?
Well, I was thinking about kind of talking about the Declaration of Independence in the
Mm,
US, because it says something about each man is born equal. Is
mm,
it not? It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to mean it.
very true.
Yeah. So regardless of crime, ethnicity, social standing, gender, height, eye color, and so on, we treat every inmate or incarcerated person in a Norwegian in the Norwegian correctional system has the same rights as people on the outside, except one. They're not free to move where they want. That's the punishment. You
Wow.
can't move, you can't do anything you like when you want to do it.
So taking away the freedom, but everything
Yeah.
else is equal, like you said, like voting rights and
Voting rights, yeah, you have the same rights for healthcare. Some people will argue that the healthcare is better for inmates.
mm,
Uh, that's one of the things that people kind of talk about when they visit a Norwegian prison is the rooming, the standards of living uh,
mm,
in the Norwegian prisons. But if you want if you want to work on rehabilitation and getting people back to society, uh, is there a point in having below standards? Or is that just more punishment? For us, the punishment is just the freedom.
Taking away the people's freedom,
Yeah.
right? And even then, you give them carrots at the end of a stick. If they behave themselves, they can earn time, hours, or days back home and then come back, which is unheard of in the United States, that you let them go home as a reward.
Yeah, if you completed 1/3 of your sentence, uh, then you can apply for leave up until I think it's 18 or 24 days a year. So they'll start you off with like an 8 hour leave, and then they'll move on to 12 hours, then it's 24, 72, and so on and so on. But seldom more than like 72, 78 hours.
Wow. And that is very unheard of in the United States.
I see
But
somebody in the comments area section say they have that kind of furlough system in some
okay,
places in the US.
okay. That I didn't know that. All right. Okay. So why is to you as a more than 2 decades working in corrections, why is it to you important to have leak head as a
Mhm.
guiding principle? Um,
Well, so if you're an incarcerated person, it means you're broken some kind of law. Hopefully, uh, you've broken some kind of law. You have troubles abiding to the societal laws, um, and we would like to kind of correct that behavior.
mm-hmm.
So if you want to correct behavior, you would want them to kind of like uh, aspire to get back to society. You want to treat them like, and the equality is closely connected to the normality principle.
Mm-hmm.
Because we want a prison to function like a miniature society. Because if they can't behave on a larger scale, then we try to teach them how to behave on a smaller scale, and it's applicable for when they get out.
Wow. So it's almost like practicing being lawful or
Yeah,
whatever, abiding by rules on the inside, but making it so that they have an incentive that they may want to do that as opposed to fighting you and opposing you all the time.
yeah, because where there's a carrot, there's also a stick, uh, usually. So to get the furloughs, you have to behave. If you misbehave, if you're violent, if you don't work, no furlough.
So it's really basically like behavior modification, basically. But
Yeah,
underneath it is the equality principle where you, from talking with you and other people in Norway, you really embrace that. You believe it. You don't question it. You don't challenge it. You yourselves believe that, yes, they are equal to us.
yeah.
Even if you have more authority vested in you by your title, they're still an equal.
They're still a human being.
Right. And that, whatever that means, we'll get to that in the human dignity piece. So, so what do you think would have happened in a Norwegian prison, or what did happen when you didn't have that in place? What would be the consequence of operating a prison without that sense of human being based equality?
Well, there's been well, not a ton of, but a few different psychological and yeah, social experiments trying that out. And what you see is that the people in power, they 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 like it. They misuse it, and they start looking down at the people they're watching. So if you want to have like a correctional system that kind of polices itself, the principle of equality is an absolute. The same is well, all four of the pillars, well, three of them at least, because the principle of equality is at the center, but so is like the human dignity part and the
Mm-hmm.
principle of normality. Uh, the rehabilitation part of it, that speaks more of our method of working, but it also says that you believe people can change,
Right.
because a rock will always be a rock. You can't talk to it and make it into water.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to have that hope that and conviction that they can change to invest all that other stuff into the whole system and to people.
Yeah, and you have to like using this model, looking at equality, looking at human dignity, looking at normality. It's not my job to make people change. It's my job to make sure they want to change, to help
Ooh,
them want to change.
motivating.
Yeah. So we use quite a lot. It's part of our basic training. This type of motivational interviewing.
Mm.
Like we use mirroring. We use like the parrot
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah. So
Active listening skills. Great.
yeah.
So you connect definitely at a deeper humane level with people getting into conversations. And you talked about having a primary officer that has 3 or 4 inmates assigned to them and spends more time in depth talking with them. And
Yeah, and as part of being a primary officer, it's your job to also ask like the difficult questions about their criminal records. Why did this happen? How can you rationalize doing that? Stuff like that, and also confront them with their own like faults and criminal history.
mm, mm, and see how they respond.
Yeah, you usually it it's like anything. It's like making a statue from stone. You can't see it straight away on the first tap to the stone. You have to keep chipping away, and then
Right,
at one point there's actually a statue there.
right. Kind of the shaping emerges gradually,
Yeah,
but you have to keep at it long term, long
yeah.
term. So how do daily operations reflect that principle and decision making by decision makers, like the principle of equality, daily operations, decision making? How would you say they shape?
It, it's hard for me as an integrated part of the system to kind of respond to that in a good fashion because I do things without thinking about it.
Automated, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but just take an example of equality. In September, there was the election to the parliament was in Norway. So I think it was September 9th or something. And September 8th, we had election commissioners come into the prisons and set up voting cabinets in the prisons.
Mm.
And on September 9th, we kind of in small batches we escorted the inmates to the voting ballots so they could vote for government.
Wow.
That's while you're in prison, and
Right.
that's that's kind of easy way to
Yeah.
explain
Yeah.
equality.
So they did not feel like they're outcasts, cut off, thrown away, rejected. They were part of the system still, part of the country.
Yeah, by all means, they have equal rights.
They have not taken, nobody has taken away. Okay, so that's a good example of equality. That's a powerful example. And how does it shape the leadership practices, like your wardens, and how who have the supposedly the most power in the institution? How does that equality principle shape leadership practices in the Norwegian prison?
Well, if you want to make changes in the Norwegian correctional system, you have to make a good argument that this will improve the inmate's life and rehabilitation process. So I would like to say that it's the staff that's the key for change in Norway, but it's not. It's the political view on corrections that's the pendula who decides if we get a change or not. So when we recruit leadership, a lot of people in leadership come from different trades. They don't necessarily have a history of corrections. And
Hmm.
this is both good and bad in some ways, because you have people coming with a background in criminology, in sociology, stuff like that, and they have like an idea of what corrections is, but they have never worked there. They don't know anything about the safety aspect of the job, but they're there primarily to make sure that we follow the pillars.
Wow. So they're looking at the big picture conceptually, more abstractly, without the direct, practical, hands-on experience. And then you have to balance them out, obviously, with somebody who has a practical
Yeah,
experience.
so you would usually do, if you have a warden with practical experience, you would do a second in command without practical experience, or vice versa.
Wow. So they bring two perspectives. So you don't lose track of either one. That's
At
very
least
good.
two. There could be three, four, five in top level management.
Bringing different perspectives, outlooks, experience, agendas, desires, maybe visions for the future, and then they have to work together. And which is the other piece you have about having to work things out to all agree on something. If
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, you have to try to work it out.
Yeah, well, basically, if you want to make a deal with somebody, it kind of applies that everybody has to agree to the deal. If not, no deal. So,
Okay.
and that's like the same principle we use in corrections.
Right. So it's about unanimous agreement as opposed to one person forcing something down everybody's throat, the other people's
Well,
throat.
that's yes and no. So the base rule is that your employer decides everything going down through the system. Like the person in power, he makes the decisions. But if you're a good leader, I'll make you agree to the decision I'm gonna make before I make it. So I'll have a talk with you. I'll discuss the problem that needs to be solved. You'll give me your perspective, what's important to you. We'll find we'll find a way to make sure that at least part of your perspective is taken care of, and then I'll make my decision. That's the same way I work with an inmate. He can't
Ah,
blackmail me, but I have to make sure he thinks it's his idea to implement the changes I want to implement.
wow. So a lot of interpersonal skills, a lot of dialogue, a lot of respect during the dialogue, a lot of emotional intelligence.
Now,
And
I'm giving you like the pretty picture. There's also a backside. Just
yeah,
it doesn't sound like what I'm telling you right now on day one. There's a lot of chipping away before we get to the dialogue.
right. So a lot of headbutting, as we would say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's simple corrections, like simple. Just that's not okay. Don't do that. Address me with respect. Don't do that. Like a lot of these, because a lot of inmates in Norwegian prisons, they there's a reason they're in prison. They kind of lack that one person in their life that told them what's okay and what's not okay. or they ignored the person in their life that told them what's okay, what's not okay. So you have to teach them that skill. You have to
Wow.
make them understand that if you can't do like basic courteous stuff, I can't bring you to the next level.
Wow. Wow. So it's almost like a form of like some behavior modification, almost like some form of therapy, healing, reprogramming, a lot of patience. And somebody asked a question earlier, and I saw it floating through, and I wanted to respond to it now. About 3 to 4 inmates per person. That's for the primary.
That's for the primary officer, yeah. So we have like this is always coming up when we talk about Norway because you have like a 1.1 staff per every inmate. But that's like the wide picture of staff. If you're a correctional officer, there's probably one officer per every 14 inmates,
And it used to
which
be
I still
over every
know
nine.
is like a fantasy number for a lot of people. But um, to be honest, I used to work at a floor. We're two officers on 26 inmates. And sometimes we would be three officers on 26 inmates, and the days we were two, we were short-staffed on 26 inmates. So it's a matter of if you're two correctional officers on 26 inmates, you can be courteous. You can kind of you can use the principle of equality. You can treat people with dignity. But you can't facilitate normality, and you can forget about rehabilitation.
Yeah. Yeah. And then with the 3 or 4 assigned as a primary, that's where you go in depth. It's almost like a caseworker,
Yeah,
case manager.
you have informal and formal talks with inmates. Like the informal thing is where you can like just talk about the weather, crack a joke, whatever. And the formal is looking into his situation. What's his problem with is does he use drugs? Does he have a house when he gets out? What are prospects of a job? Does he have family? Does he have children? And one of the things we absolutely try to work on is making sure that inmates get back in contact with their family, and especially if they have children.
Hmm.
So the idea there is that if a loved one is in prison, his family is kind of in prison as well. Uh, and although an inmate has done something wrong, his children has not. And their chance to create a bond with their father or mother is quite important.
Right. And you talked about motivating them. For some, that may be the motivator to want to improve
For
themselves,
sure.
to take care of their children. And I still remember the beautiful little apartment or little villa, whatever you call it, at Holden for the weekend stay for the family to come and stay with the inmate.
Yeah,
For
the visitation apartment.
what you call it?
Uh,
Visitation?
Apartment. Yeah,
Yeah, it's more like a little
a little
idyllic
house on the
little.
prairie.
Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful. And
Yeah,
from what I remember, guys, don't be blown away, but you guys do not interrupt for 2.5 days. You leave them alone. You don't go check on them. Is that correct? That's what I was told. Yeah,
yeah,
that they have complete privacy. And I thought my first thought was, what if they killed somebody there? But I guess you've never had that happen. Um, but that's talk about the motivator, a carrot, and a beautiful place for a child to come and not be traumatized that their parent is like trash. Um, yeah. Wow. Okay. Kind of like this is like another universe for a lot of us here. So just to explain it again, let's say it's like one person with 14, one CO with 14, but out of those 14 or 9, as it used to be way back, they have 3 that they are to go more in depth with, like a case worker or case manager.
Yeah.
The rest is more shallow. The other ones are more in depth and they form a deeper bond where I've seen picture of people watching football games together, I mean, soccer games and whatever, chatting and eating, of course, meals together, which again is things you could be fired for in the United States. Um, so, so let's go to Desert Waters focuses on staff wellness, but we realize that everything is a system and one part of the system affects the other. So how might practicing equality in prisons towards the inmates impact staff wellness?
Well, it can be that can actually work both ways. But if you treat the people around you as people, and you accept the fact that it's human to error, and that basically anybody can at any given point do something stupid or reckless and go to prison. Uh, and then you have to understand that this person in front of you, uh, quite possible, could live in your neighborhood, maybe even next door to you. So of course, it's an incentive for I don't want somebody hating me and trying to kill me next door. So uh, I want to treat them respectfully, of course. Uh, but there is a problem with this. The level of empathy and stuff that goes into to this, and that is secondary trauma. Because officers can get too involved in the situation that the inmate has, the problems that the inmate had, and the trauma that led him to prison, him or her.
Right.
So it's a narrow
Right.
walkway to navigate.
Yes, because we were talking about that within our team about how being a good helper means you're empathetic, but it means also you absorb the blow and you get wounded as you do your job very effectively. You get affected, and then you have to be detoxing and taking care of yourself and healing, recovering. And that's why were you guys having those very, very carefully delineated vacation days and kicking people out of the prison. I mean, the staff to get a break and decompress. It's huge. Um, you help them reset their mind and you are very careful selecting people from what I understand to begin with who becomes a correctional officer.
Yeah, we try, but here's the thing, because one of the things we look at when we recruit staff is like empathy
Mm-hmm.
levels. We want people with empathy, but you can't have too much. Uh,
Right.
and there's a famous psychologist in Norway called Per Isdal. He wrote a book, Infected by Violence, which is he uses a lot of his time working closely with correctional officers, talking about secondary trauma as a correctional officer, and what it does to you working with people, hearing about their trauma, but also the primary trauma that you experience from
Mm-hmm.
violence at work and stuff like that. So, and what we have to do, which we didn't do only a short time ago, is that we have to like help the helper.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
Right.
actually, what we're doing right now is we're implementing a system. It's basically 8 modules of online coursing. The staff can go in and look at these short films and short lectures about how to better help yourself.
Right.
And this, the psychologist Per Isdal that I talked about, he once told me that the best thing you can do is when you're leaving work to make sure you don't bring your work home. You should walk home from work. You spend
Mm,
about an hour walking, reflect
mm.
on your day, and when you get home, finished. If you can do that, you can live healthy.
Wow. And that's why some people choose to live an hour away from the prison to drive back and forth because it's the same thing. They're not walking. I would prefer the walking, uh, but it times to process and digest things and let go of some things. Most things, some maybe need extra assistance with, but yes. And what I would really, really like, I'm just throwing it out. Some places have started doing that, actually one that I know of, where they do quarterly voluntary check-ins with a mental health person that are completely not to be used for evaluation purposes. They're not diagnostic, but they're just a check-in. How are you doing? And maybe processing, talking a little bit about what happened the last quarter or the last month, and doing a little processing as opposed to packing it all in and shoving it down and keeping on going because you see a lot. You see a lot. So equality, would affect staff wellness if you have less, of course, clashing, less fights, less confrontations, less um, violence, um, less times we get angry. Because every time we get angry, we really stress our bodies. So if you have less anger, that increases staff wellness right there.
Yeah, and
Anger.
I think
Go ahead.
it's something inherent in humans that we know that uh, there is value to human life, and if we spend our day kind of operating in a way that make us view other human beings as worth less, I think that that inflicts a kind of moral damage to you,
Yes.
which is deep.
Right. And that's what some people have called moral injury, which is very,
Yeah,
and it's like our conscious. And I would also say to me, it's a spiritual thing because there is a sacredness to a human being. I mean, there is sacredness to life, period. But especially for us being human, it means a lot to have another human around. So there is that reverence of or deep respect that ultimately it is a human being in front of me. And yes, and it's in fact, Andy Potter gave me permission to share that quote. He told me when he used to work, he's the founder of One Voice United. When he used to work at the prison, he said, every time I treated an inmate in a way that took away his dignity, something in me died. And I'll never forget that. Something in me died. And it's like, whoa, can you imagine? After 20, 30 years of doing something like that, how what an impact it has to a person's well-being and when they go home, how they treat other human beings, because that doesn't just stay within the walls. So yes, these things are interconnected. I cannot treat you like trash and be healthy myself. It doesn't work.
no, it doesn't. So, and if you want uh, a sustainable way of creating staff wellness, you have to make sure that they don't have to compromise their own kind of thoughts of the value of human life.
Wow. That they keep them decent, high level.
Yeah, I think every correctional officer knows that we sometimes have to use force in a prison. Uh, but if you know that that is um, the last resort, it's easier to kind of justify it to yourself. I tried everything else.
Right.
Right now, we have a situation in Norway with a kid. He's 16 years old. There was a thing in the paper because he was kept in for 18 hours in solitary confinement, naked, without clothes. There's a bit of a public outcry saying that, corrections, what are you doing? Um, the problem with this is that when we use solitary confinement, it's to save a life. We use the stripped cells you saw in Halden.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and this young man, he headbutted an officer wh- when they tried to isolate him in his room, and then he tried to kill himself. So they carried him to the solitary confinement cell. Uh, they did a visual check that he didn't have any concealed weapons or drugs or anything. Gave him new clothes and like a safety smock to wear.
Mm-hmm.
And then within 10 minutes, he tore everything to pieces and tried to strangulate himself. So they had to take all the clothes out. And then he tried to block the view from the officers by using his mattress. So they had to take that one out. And yeah, then you're a 15, 16-year-old boy stuck in solitary confinement without clothes until we can safely bring you out.
Right. Right. And if somebody doesn't have the context, may see it as excessive without
Yeah, so
knowing the history.
so the story in the newspaper didn't bring any context. It made it seem like we just took this 15, 16-year-old from the streets, dragged him into prison and stripped him naked and threw him in a solitary confinement. So,
Yeah. 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 Wow. And you said something about to his room. Are you with, let me just clarify. From what I remember in Holden, people had, each one had their own room, and it wasn't a cell, it was a room.
it's a room with a bed, a desk, toilet, shower, and TV.
Yeah.
In
And
some
it's
prisons, you'll have like a fridge as
right.
well.
And is it one person staying in that room?
One, yeah.
Okay, so that's, I mean, yeah, here we have the double bunking and quadruple bunking and whatever else. Yeah, obviously, very different
It's
conditions.
one person a room. If there's a problem, we have a room is around 9 square meters. I'm not sure what that is in foot, but if we also have some rooms that are a bit bigger, and if there's a crisis and we need to double book a room, we'll use the large rooms for that, and we'll just put a bunk in.
Wow. Okay. So that in itself is more like an equal situation living on the outside, like in the college, you'd have yeah,
Yeah,
a
so
room like that.
that kind of brings us over to the principle of normality. And
Mm-hmm.
when we were in Halden, a lot of people from the US said that if my child lived like this at college, I would be happy.
Wow.
But the principle of normality, like I said, we want to create a micro version of society on the inside of the walls, and we kind of train people to accept normal routines. Actions have consequences. How do I make sure that I can operate within the what is normal in society? Yeah, I have to learn how to navigate this system, and then I can
Yeah.
bring that to the outside, and I can navigate in that system. Of course, drug use is a problem because you could want to be rehabilitated all you want, but if you have an addiction, the addiction is going to fuel your crime anyway. So, but we also have programs for that. But
Treatment.
yeah, so but it's hard to make a an addict clean if he doesn't want to or she doesn't
Right.
want.
Right. Oh my gosh. Even if they want, it's still hard having to
Yeah,
go through it. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's
Yeah.
important to say that we're not that naive that we think that we can put somebody in prison for a year or 2 years or a month or whatever, and when they get back out, they're never going to do anything criminal again. But what we think our main idea is that if we can get them to do less crime every time we send them out, eventually they'll do none.
Mm. And your statistics are very impressive in terms of recidivism.
Yeah, I think we have like the first 2 years. I think we're at 22%, and for the first 5 years, I think we're at 26.
Wow. Wow. And of course, your system provides housing and medical care and even education, right? If people wanted it on the outside, which helps a lot.
Yeah, on the outside and on the inside, because if you want people to get a job when they get out, you have to educate them. You have to make them learn a trade or some kind of work they can do, or get the education they need to get a job when they get out. And then you have
Yeah.
like the welfare system in Norway, which makes sure that you can get housing if you need it. Uh, Housing in Norway sometimes will mean that you have to live for like 6 months, a year in a hospice or something. But you can get a roof over your head and your own room.
Right.
And
Privacy.
then, yeah, and then gradually work from there.
Right. And just to convert the square meters is 97 square feet, guys, in case you wondered about the one room. Approximately. So, wow. So we have a lot of questions coming in that are really, really important, and I want to make sure we have
Yeah.
time to go over them. Um, so here, of course, I know the question will be asked, how can we do anything in the US when we have such huge numbers of people incarcerated, which is true, and lengthy sentences without heavy duty rehabilitation, which really end up breaking people down rather than building them up. So people can may leave worse than they came in, more traumatized, whatever. And there was a question about behavioral health, mental health treatment, which I know you provide plenty of. Would you like to speak to that for a minute? The part of the normality treatment on the inside.
Yeah. So, Norwegian Corrections, we don't employ our own health staff. It's an imported service, so it's the government. They kind of offer the same health care as I am eligible for on the outside. But and then again, that's the system in Norway. You pay like if I want to go to the doctor tomorrow, I'm gonna pay like $18 for an appointment with the doctor, and that's what I'm gonna pay. Not he can treat me for whatever. I'll just pay a small, like a symbolic
Mm.
sum. And if you don't have money, they'll treat you for free. Uh, Somebody misses European healthcare. And that's a good point because that's the system in Europe. A lot of countries in Europe have the exact same system. So we import the services. That means that the county where the prison is located, they're responsible for making sure that everybody gets uh, health care. It gets the health care they're supposed to get. And
Including mental health care, right? For mental health,
yeah, so
psychiatric.
yes and no, because that's not the county's job. That's state. So that's in Norway, only one state. So it's the government's job. But because we have something called a specialist healthcare system, which is like psychologists and stuff. My prison, I usually work in Oslo prison, or well, I my wife says I can't say usually anymore because it's 10 years since since I last worked there. But uh, that's where I'm employed. is Oslo prison. So we have like um, our own team of psychologists for the inmates. I think right now there are 5 psychologists. And I saw also a question about if there's a lot of mentally ill inmates in Norway, and yes, that's by far our biggest concern right now. I think around 90% of inmates in Norway have some kind of diagnosis. Not
Wow.
everybody is like dangerous and criminal because of it, but they have some kind of diagnosis for mental illness. But we see, especially around addicts and stuff, there's a lot of personality disorders and stuff like that, and quite a few are quite violent as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. One thing to mention is that correct me if I was wrong, but my understanding is that in Norway you hold people before they were sentenced, their sentence, and those who have been sentenced together in the same facilities.
Yeah, both custody, remand, and sentenced inmates, same prison.
Well, and you have not obviously it's been working for you, kind of. Yeah, it's not creating any kind of problem. I remember the warden there was concerned about the mentally ill that were not participating in work programs or even didn't want even treatment programs. And that was like where it's hard to make progress because they refuse to participate. Uh, do you do anything regarding somebody I think asked that earlier, forced medication, medicating somebody against their will or not really? Do you have to go to court to get orders for that?
No,
Permission?
the healthcare system can do it. Uh, so, but they have to. It has to be the first time they do it. They can do it just as if a doctor says that he needs this medication right now because he's a danger to himself. He needs to be cross-checked by another doctor, and then they can just administer the drug. But if they want to keep the inmate on it, they have to go to the court, explain to the court why it's important, and then they can be forcibly medicated.
Okay. Okay. So you do have that option.
But that's not the correctional services. We don't have anything to do with that. That's just the healthcare system. That's doctors, psychologists,
Psychiatrists, yes.
yeah, psychiatrists.
Okay, okay. So I know we have about half an hour left and a lot of questions flying in. Would you like to say anything more about the whole thing of human dignity? Any examples or about how you treat somebody with the whole treating of people with human dignity? Any examples you want to share or anything more you want to share on that?
For me, human dignity. You can't talk about rehabilitation if you don't understand the fact that human dignity, that every human being has an inherent, inviolable value simply by the virtue of being human. If you don't accept that, just forget about rehabilitation. And that's it's again, it's hard for me to explain because this is the culture. This is how I'm brought up. I don't reflect on it too much. It just that's the way we think. And so it kind of melts into everything we do in a way. When when I worked in Oslo, uh, I'm not, I don't like paperwork. I like the informal chats. I like the day-to-day stuff. And it's my opinion. That's where you create like the possibilities for change.
Mm,
That's where you create the motivation for change.
wow.
So I always try to within boundaries. But I try to create not create, but I try to treat the inmates like I would anybody else that I met at a party or that I just met, with a bit of humor, with a bit of like, yeah, just back and forth like guys do to each other. Because men never talk nicely to each other. We don't do that.
Yeah,
We
I know
make fun of
exactly
each
what you
other.
mean. Yeah, it's like let me show you how much I love you by being mean to you,
Yeah.
right?
So I try to treat them like anybody else I just met. And if they're at my floor long enough, I get to know them. So, and then they say that they wanna, they feel like the motivation because people, I'm treating them just like every other human. And what I'm saying when I make fun of them and tease them is that you could be just anybody. I don't treat you any worse or any better than anybody else. But you're a human being, and I respect that. I
Right.
respect you.
There isn't the stigma, you're an inmate, you're broken, you're messed up, you're trash, you're an inmate, you're a
And as
piece
an
of
officer,
whatever. Mm.
you have to kind of like know that when you kind of use humor, uh, they will use it back. And that's when you really can show them that you respect them.
Mm.
Because you can laugh when they make fun of you.
Mm. Right. So that's a normality thing right there, like two
Mm.
human beings, yes, as opposed to a lot of fear and you're the enemy and yeah, a whole different setup. And I'm thinking of how important the sense of meaning in our job is for any profession. And if you have meaning in life that you are helping somebody as opposed to just guarding them or whatever, keeping them from harming someone, um, that affects wellness because it gives you purpose and a sense of usefulness, like you're investing your life in something worthwhile. And
Yeah.
again, we don't forget that bad things do happen, but we have to start making some changes somewhere to facilitate like the positive meaning and the sense of, like I'm doing something here for a good reason. And you guys are very careful, from what I understand, in picking people to do this work and letting them go, I believe, when they prove not to be able to do this work as well. If
Well, that's both true and not so true. We would like to be more picky, but right now the situation is that every branch of government is trying to recruit more people. We're not enough people in Norway. So just move here. Last year, 32 American moved to the US.
to the
Just
Norway from the US,
yeah. So we keep statistics on where people move into the country from, and last year, normally a normal year would be around 10. Last year, 32.
wow, did they go to work for you guys?
No, no, not in corrections, no, but just to the country. We're such a
Oh,
small country that 32 people actually matters to us.
wow,
Yeah.
that is so good.
But
Wow.
I'll tell you a story because I got a question a couple of days ago from a former colleague of mine. He now works as a custom officer.
Mm.
And he said he asked me, I have two questions for you. Uh, one is how many inmates have you had die on you, like suicide or whatever?
Natural causes, maybe heart attack, something like that.
Yeah, but usually suicides.
Mm.
And how many colleagues have you lost
Mm.
that you were close to? And what has that done to you? And I said, it's a good question. I have the numbers. I'm not going to share them here, but I have the numbers, and I'll give you the numbers. What has it done to me? I'm not sure, but I think you're asking the wrong question. how many lives have I saved?
Mm.
And that, to me, right now we're in a quite negative spiral in Norway because we're lacking staffing and stuff like that. And everybody talks about what all the bad stuff, but nobody talks about all the good stuff we do. Kind of like that newspaper article I talked about earlier. They kind of cherry pick the negatives, and nobody mentioned that this young man's life was saved because of what the officers did.
Multiple times, not just
Yeah.
once.
So and that is a choice you make every day. Would you want to focus on the negative or the positive?
Right on.
And that doesn't cost a thing to reflect on every time you get out of bed.
Right. Right. And it helps to have other people do it around you, but you may have to lead.
It has to start something,
Yep.
somewhere.
Yep.
Might as well be you.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
think actually you're quite good at it, Katarina, but some of the others here.
Well, the
Bit
thing is,
crap.
is like we have to not get stuck with an excuse like why it cannot be done, because anything can be done at least to a teeny degree, but it's a start. And you guys did not start all of a sudden having the Holden prison built. You agonized through a lot of phases, but you kept at it. That's the difference. Perseverance
Yeah.
and having a vision.
As a union president, this is kind of like the balancing stuff I have to do because I have to speak up about all the things that are negative and bad. And I
Mm,
seldom or rarely, unless when I'm talking to somebody in the US, get the chance to talk about all the good things,
mm,
the things that actually work.
mm.
Kind of like balancing the stuff because if we want to actually get some change, we have to be honest about what we're lacking, what's missing, what we want to change,
Right.
like our staffing levels. But if I keep on repeating about all the negatives, then all my members, all my colleagues, the only thing they're going to be exposed to is negative ideas. So for me, that's quite hard because I can't I can't my members wouldn't be my members a lot longer if I went out and said that, yeah, our staffing levels now are an all-time low. There's an increase in violence and threats against the officers, but wow, we do some great work as well. They're not going to accept that. So I have to address the problems, but then at the same time, when I talk to my members one to one, if I meet them, and they tell me stories about, nah, I'm tired of this, I can't do anymore. I tell them two things. One, go talk to somebody professional. That's important. Two, you, every person makes choices every day. This is also what we confront the inmates with.
Mm,
You're here voluntarily. You made a series of choices that led you here. You could at any point choose different, but you chose
yeah.
not to. So that's important that the officers keep in mind that as well. You can bring all the negative with you all the time, or you can choose not to.
Right. So it's about empowering, accepting reality, owning reality, but at the same time encouraging and problem solving. And
I talk
yeah,
about
that's
it as being a responsible person. You have to take responsibility for your choices.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And learn from mistakes because we all make them.
Of
Yeah,
course,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And keep on the resilience, hanging on, hanging on. Even if you take a little break, continuing to climb the hill. Wow. So yes, it's not all peaches and cream in Norway either. And I know you've had some staff suicides over the years also. And though that's a whole different story about people not wanting to ask for help. And that's something we started to address in our correctional aces, by the way, our monthly publication, hopefully as a series, we'll be addressing staff suicide prevention and issues. So, wow, let's look, Eric, really appreciate that. Let's go deeply into some of your questions because that we were submitted. And
Yeah.
because I know, my goodness, we have a lot of questions. Um, and of course, it's a much smaller system. How many officers do you have in the whole country?
Well, uh, we're supposed to be around 2,800. We're now 1,600.
Ouch. That's a big drop.
Yeah, we a couple of years ago we were 2,300, I think.
Wow.
So the last 2, 3 years, there's been like everybody just quit, started doing different jobs. They they couldn't take it because the Norwegian model, it takes a lot out of you. You have to
Mm,
you have to kind of be focused. So you're risking quite a lot by the way we work. That's why we have issues with the depression, PTSD, and secondary trauma and stuff. Because you're 100% committed to what you're doing. But
right.
if that's not backed through management, through different programs, if you don't have somebody to help the helper, they get
Mm,
sick.
right.
And through our and I have to take some responsibility for this as well. Through our focus on mental health, a lot of people have been standing up and saying, "No, this is not okay. I am not okay. I need to
Mm-hmm.
do something different. I need to change my job."
Wow. And they may quit. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. So let me ask a practical question. If somebody wanted the link to the white paper you kept referencing, the I think your parliament had the white paper way back is it in the 50s and 70s and 90s.
Yeah, we had first white paper in 1952, I think, and then a new one in 1978. The 52 one was a white paper about changing the law to start rehabilitating the system, and the 1978 one was about um, going away from starting to focusing from going away from like sentencing and penance and isolation and stuff like that, and going towards a more rehabilitative rehabilitation
Mm-hmm.
and programming and stuff like that.
Okay.
And after the two murders in 89 and early in the 90s, the white paper in 97, 98, which is in part written by the warden you met in Halden.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When that got out, things really started moving.
Wow. Okay. And people, if they want to read it, can they find it somewhere?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay.
Probably in an archive someplace, but it will be in Norwegian, I think. I'm not sure
Okay.
if there's an English version of it.
So you guys hold off on that one. Okay. So somebody asked about if you have cultural division of races in your prison system, and I'm not sure if cultural division means they themselves segregate themselves or what it means. But do you have a mixture of races in your prison system?
Yes, we do. I checked earlier today, and I could see that there's 84 different nationalities in
Wow.
prison as of
Wow.
today. But
Okay.
uh, the main part is um, Swedes, which is
Mm,
basically Norwegian but with a funny dialect, and
mm,
then there's Lithuania, Poland, which is Slavic countries.
mm-hmm,
And then we go down to like the Middle East and to Western Africa.
mm-hmm. Yeah. So you have all that mix.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, Norway is still kind of like on the top level. It's quite uh, um, it's not too diverse.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to the capital, you'll see that in the last 2 years, I think the capital has grown by 200,000 people living there,
Wow.
200,000 more, and 150,000 are people from different countries, not
Wow. That's a big
Norwegian.
influx. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I live in a suburb to the capital,
Mm-hmm.
and we are housing quite a lot of refugees right now.
Wow.
So
Okay.
you can see the impact on smaller society, on small cities, and also in the capital. But that's if that hurts the system or not, that's a question about integration and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But inside they're all mixed together. What do you do with people who don't speak Norwegian
Uh,
that are incarcerated there? What do you have to translators? I mean, how do you handle that? Because I
uh,
think that I ran into that when I was there.
yeah, so we'll use some translators, of course, if that's possible. But if it's just everyday conversation, or if there is a request, we'll try to use like uh, signing out what they want. We'll try to use different languages. We'll use iPads with the chance for using like Google Translate and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
But we also focus on the most common languages in a Norwegian prison.
Mm-hmm.
Would be Spanish, French, English, and Farsi, or
Farsi?
yeah, some of the Middle Eastern languages. So
Mm-hmm.
and you get a long way with English, Spanish,
Mm-hmm.
French, and Farsi.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we
Okay.
have a lot of officers. That's also a part of our recruitment. We are actively looking for people with a different cultural background than Norwegian.
Okay. Now, somebody asked a question that is worth definitely, I mean, they're all very worth addressing, but it's very critical because we work with staff. What kind of training you provide your officers? And you have the initial training and then ongoing training. Would you like to say something about what you provide to officers and the length of it?
Well, the initial training lasts. The training period is 2 years. So that's a training academy. It starts off with 1 semester of school, and then 2 semesters where you're primarily working in a prison, but getting guidance and stuff while you're working, and you also have some school. And then fourth semester, you're back at school, and then once you've started working, and when you worked for I think 1 year, then you can apply for a bachelor's degree and do a bachelor's. And actually, right now in the government has said that they will focus on making the correctional officer training a fully implemented bachelor's program from
Oh, wow.
2027.
Wow. So
But
you've,
and just so I'm clear on it, I don't agree with that. I think there's a lot of schooling you could do as a correctional officer, but if there's too much reading, reading books is good. It's good to relax. It's good to get knowledge, but the main part you have to learn as a correctional officer is to read people,
mm,
and that is easier to teach somebody out in a prison than in a classroom. So I like the idea that you can get a bachelor's degree, but when we get people applying for a bachelor's program, they're first of all they're younger. That also means that they're more vulnerable.
mm,
Uh, and if they first have the bachelor's degree, it's unlikely that they will keep on working there. They'll just do the
Ah,
degree and then move on. So I think the system we have today is better than the system they want to implement.
well, I hope you get listened to. You get to talk to some people. So you're talking about the practical issues and more like, because you guys are operating more like social workers, therapists, case managers.
Well,
Um,
yeah, the role as a correctional officer in Norway is complex. You're both the guardian and the social worker. You're you're the responsible person saying what's allowed, what's not allowed. You have the safety aspect of not just yourself, but the inmate, all the other inmates, all your colleagues. And at the same time, you're supposed to facilitate for the inmate to want to change.
mm,
So you both have to be the enforcer and like the facilitator at once.
that's a tricky balance. It's a very delicate balance to be able to flex and to shift from one mindset to the other. It takes skill. And that's why I think you guys give each other feedback, right? You have like mentoring or feedback about how cases were handled, and it's ongoing on the job training as far as I could understand when I was there. Like
Yeah,
like
we use defusing and stuff like that to talk about especially a critical incident, and then we have the more informal colleague talking about how we handle a situation,
hmm
how
you
we
have the
talk to an inmate.
you have the luxury of the time to do that.
Yeah.
Would you talk about the overlapping shifts?
Oh yeah.
How they work, the overlapping shifts that when you leave and the other people are coming in?
Yeah. So a basic shift plan for a correctional officer will be from anything from 9 to 26 weeks. You'll work both mornings, afternoons, nights, weekends during that period. And when if I work the morning shift, let's say that finishes at 3. The afternoon shift will start 2:30 latest, and we'll use that half an hour, sometimes earlier, sometimes I'll finish 3, they'll start 2, and we'll use that time to talk about what happened on the unit that day. Is there any problems with any of the inmates? Is there anything that the afternoon shift have to fix? Stuff like that. We'll just tell them what's going on the floor, so nobody gets surprised. If there's an inmate that's having a bad day, that's been aggressive, that's been violent, been threatening, I'll tell my colleagues so to make sure that they can use the right way of handling him so they don't get hurt.
They're not taken by surprise. They know what's going
Yeah.
on. So there's a continuity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't go in blind. That's huge. Wow. And somebody asked, changing the subject here, somebody asked about lengths of sentences, life sentences versus sure. And if you want to talk about your sentencing system and also how you review a sentence at the end of it every year by the judge, and it gets reviewed by the judge. If you can talk about that, I'd
Yeah,
appreciate it.
so the basic sentencing system goes from 0 to 21 years. Well, actually, now we have the possibility if you were convicted of terrorism, you can get 30 years. So that's the 30 years is the maximum time limited punishment you can get in Norway. But we also have a time unlimited punishment where you can get 21 years, which is basically 21 to life. But if you get 21 years of time unlimited punishment, then you'll get like a minimum of 10 years. So after 10 years, the inmate can start appealing to get out. But these inmates are restricted to specialist floors with a higher standard of or a higher staffing ratio. But there's not only correctional officers working on these floors, there's also environmental workers working there. And they write reports on the progress of the inmates. The inmates regularly go to psychiatrists and talk, and they write reports. And then when they appeal to get out, you'll have to testify in court, and you have to say something about their progress and how their behavior is, and you have to kind of like, is it likely that he or she will commit crimes again? You'll have to speculate a lot, and in probably around 50% of the cases, the court finds in favor of if 50% of the cases where corrections want to keep them on the inside, in yeah 50% the court agrees with corrections, and in 50% they disagree and release them. But if you can basically be a lifer on that, because it's time unlimited. And you can appeal every second year from reaching your minimum sentence.
And these are, of course, small numbers you're talking about because it's a small country, but you have that unlimited option. If somebody
Yeah.
continues to be dangerous and make threats,
So
yeah,
I think we have it's basically for violent repeat offenders. So if you if you kill somebody one time, or the first time you kill somebody, you're not going to get a time unlimited punishment. You're going to get somewhere between 10 and 21 years. But if you get released and then kill somebody again, the probability of getting a time unlimited punishment increases by like 1,000%.
wow, okay. Excellent. Thank you. So you're not naive, like everybody's wonderful and safe. You know
No,
the
there's a,
dangers.
there's a lot of dangerous people in Norway, but the idea is that you can try to make them less dangerous, or you can treat them in a way that makes them more dangerous.
Mm. And that's what you're aiming for. Yes. So one question, and we have a couple of minutes here. I think that may be our last question for right now. What about avoiding people becoming too involved in an inmate's life, too personal, too like fall in love with them and whatever, and violate your rules for officers getting too familiar? Do you have issues with that?
Yeah, we of course we have, because people are people,
Yep.
and people will make mistakes. Uh, so if you get too close to an inmate, your contract will be terminated. And unfortunately, it happens from time to time.
Right.
But if you keep that in mind, know that right now around 40% of the correctional officers in Norway are women.
Pretty
Uh,
high.
yeah, and they work in men's prison primarily because only 5% of the inmates in Norway are women. Uh, so if you look at those numbers, we have we don't have too many problems with that at all. I would I think everybody would suspect that the number is much higher, but I think maybe one or two cases a year
Wow.
on average.
Right. That's good. So you keep an eye on each other, you're open, you discuss things. Is it possible for you, because I've encountered it elsewhere, for an officer to come, a female officer, and say, I'm finding myself really attracted to this guy, and I'm concerned about slipping and going down the slippery slope. is there any way you can support and help that person instead of her losing her job? She hasn't done anything wrong. She's aware, she's feeling the pull, the temptation.
Yeah.
I mean, would you like maybe assign her to a different unit or send her to another prison or give her support some other way? Or what would you do with something like that?
Uh, there's a between correctional officers, there's a lot of stigma. So I don't think, well, I don't think too many officers would be comfortable with and sharing that
Mm,
to an officer or somebody in management. But if they do, yes, absolutely, we would relocate them
mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
the inmate.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen
Yeah.
both. Actually,
Yeah.
I've seen both. Hmm.
So, but we also focus quite a bit on this on the training in the training academy. We talk about being personal but not private. We
Mm,
talk about what we call closeness and distance, like what's okay, what's not okay. So we try to like talk about the problems before they
hmm.
happen, so people have like the tools they need to make sure that they don't go that way.
Good. Good. Hopefully you repeat some things over and over too, as time goes on. So I think Justin, I know you're muted right now. I think maybe a good moment here to wrap it up with to Eric. I really thank you. I know it's getting late where you are, and you probably have to go back to work tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I only have some meetings on Teams and Zoom tomorrow, so I'll be doing that from
From
home.
home, the comfort of your home. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for again donating so generously your time and putting time into preparing for this and thinking about answers to questions and educating us because we really need to see that there are alternatives that work. And they may not be
Uh,
directly translatable, but they exist. Yes.
so it's my pleasure. I quite enjoy these webinars. So just shout out
Thank
next
you.
time. And
Thank you.
I saw a question earlier. They wanted to know about the author and the name of the book I talked about earlier. I can of course send it to you, but I just researched it a bit while I was talking here. I can't find the book in English. I th I think that's going to be hard for you guys. It's going to be hard for Google Translate as well, because there's a lot of weird Norwegian sayings in it.
Wow. So maybe you have to talk to the author to have find a good translator to translate.
I'll
Wow.
tell him next time I see him.
Please do. You never know. You never know. You may have never thought of that. So
And
guys, you have to wait.
if I find out that there is an English version, I'll send you the name and the book title in English and a link
Yeah.
to where it's possible to
We
get it.
can let it we can announce that. That would be great. Well, thank you. Or maybe he'll have a shorter article instead of a whole book. Maybe he has an article or two. Maybe that may be easier to translate anything. I think we need information. So
Yeah,
thank you.
no
Thank
problem.
you to Eric. Thank you very,
Thank
very
you for having
much.
me.
Yeah, it's such a joy. It's like my long lost brother across the ocean there. So that's great. Justin, do you want to share anything as you wrap it up?
No, I'd just like to tell everyone our next 90-minute webinar will be Thursday, December 18th. Same time, same channel, 1 p.m. Eastern. I dropped the link in the chat so you can register there. The title of it is Facing the Unthinkable: Finding Hope and Healing After the Suicide of a Loved One. Um, so that'll be again December 18th. Um, and we just want to thank you guys for showing up today. Thank you for our guest speaker, Tora Larson. It's always great to hear from you. Katerina, thank you for running the show today. And
Oh,
thank you, everyone, for attending. We appreciate you. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next time.
amen. Exactly. Thank you.